Next up, we have RushNet Inc. It trades on the OTC Pink sheets under the symbol RSHN. And with its subsidiaries, heliosDX and Grandeza Healthcare, heliosDX, is a national clinical reference laboratory contracted in 44 of the lower 48 states, and it's looking to expand their reach and capabilities. Joining us today, we have its COO, Yann Gerville, and its CEO, Ashley Sweat. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Welcome. I'm Yann Gerville-Reache, COO of heliosDX, with our CEO, Ashley Sweat. And we're glad to be presenting today to current and future shareholders. We're going to go through a brief overview of the company, RushNet, heliosDX, and Grandeza Healthcare. And then we'll talk about the 15-month plan that we issued in a press release. So heliosDX is a national diagnostics laboratory, and we're providing services to clinics and health offices as an alternative to the larger national laboratories. Our wheelhouse of services encompass diagnostic testing for urine toxicology, behavioral toxicology, infectious disease, PCR, and UTI. We also handle some allergy blood droplets and oral swabs. And then I'll speak some to our services, more in the 15-month plan that we're speaking to as far as growth. And just a little bit about us. You know, we pride ourselves on personable services, and our focus is on the patient. We're always looking for additional value, and we can drive to the patient, and much of our 15-month plan includes examples of this endeavor. We target offices and clinics that are looking to partner and handle patients' testing in an honest, reliable, and expeditious manner. So many of our customers, they just don't feel like customers, but more of a means to feed the larger lab machines out there. So we're really trying to give them that level of attention that they need with some very sensitive information. So these slides are providing some of the key achievements here on this About Us slide. And then there's definitely more to come in the 15-month plan. So heliosDX historically was a small regional laboratory. Ashley acquired that lab and then has rebranded it, renamed it heliosDX, and is looking to grow that nationally. And we're proactively seeking customers and really trying to enrich the experience for patients. So really what tells the story here is the numbers, right? So over the course of the past few years, starting in 2019, the company was generating revenues of around $2.6 million. In 2020, that grew to $4.29 million. heliosDX then had their billing and coding company split out into Grandeza Healthcare. And then this year, 2021, as of September the 10th, we actually surpassed the 2020 revenue numbers. Through Q3 of this year, we grossed over $5.6 million. heliosDX made up about $4,586,000 of that, and Grandeza was just over $1 million of that revenue. And as of today, we're actually over $6.5 million in combined revenue, and we're on track to achieve our stretch targets of $7.6 million. So the question is, how are we going to continue this momentum? So we're going to find out here in the next slides detailing the 15-month plan. So we'll kick off with Q4 of 2021. And this month, we filed our consolidated financials for heliosDX and Grandeza under RushNet. We surpassed last year's revenue, as stated before, and again, just showing our growth and achieving our new heights. And as our investors already know, we've had our sights on acquisition of a new laboratory, which is going to bolster the value of the company and increase our revenues. We have some larger revenue targets for next year that we're driving full speed ahead to achieve. And we're in the process of completing a Reg A, which is required for us to officially acquire the funding and then close on the lab. Thankfully, we're able to land funding through a private capital group, which helps us to expedite the closing on the new laboratory. We're just a few days away from executing the purchase agreement, which outlines the parameters from now until when we can close on that acquisition. Sliding into November this year, we're currently in the process of setting up some new healthcare technology focused on the patient that will create a more friendly approach. The details of that development are in the works, and we'll announce those in November. Grandeza has some new ventures in the mental health sector, and we're really excited about that. We're putting together the structure of that entity, and we'll be announcing and launching services in November. Also, as part of the cleanup with RushNet Inc., just out there on the internet for Helios and Grandeza business, we're actively cleaning that up and ensuring that our branding and marketing is clear and consistent across the board. Now, wrapping up in December for Q4, we're managing a lot of our time around seeking that SEC approval for the Reg A. And once that approval is received, we'll be expecting to receive the first round of funding, which is in the amount of $8 million. And that solidifies our ability to close on the lab. So it's a major effort between now and the end of the year for the management team. Now, transitioning into next year, we're going to mix it up. We're going to show you a 30-second blip of our commercial, which is broadcasted regularly on CNN, Newsmax, Bloomberg, Fox Business, Fox News, MSNBC, and CNBC. So we can roll to that 30-second commercial now.
heliosDX is defining a new era of reliable laboratory testing with fast, accurate results. With a full range of services including urine toxicology, behavioral toxicology, infectious disease, allergy, and other popular test menus. heliosDX, an alternative to national diagnostic laboratories, provides value to patients and physicians through personable and reliable services. To learn more, visit heliosdx.com/labs.
Great. I hope you enjoyed that. So now we'll roll into January 2022. And what better way to kick that off than closing on the acquisition that we've been talking about? That's our ambition. We're adding not only a lab service, but also current accounts receivables. We're gaining actual property, a building as well within this purchase agreement. And this gives us this building has some additional space. Gives us room to expand our operations, grow the volumes, and add more services to provide to the patients. So we also see various ways that we can promote growth with this acquisition with our laboratory customers by pushing more volumes as well to the billing company, Grandeza Healthcare. And we anticipate the additional growth can boost our revenues up to 20 to 25 million after a full 12 months of operations. Also, we're expecting the second round of funding in the amount of $6 million to be received at this time. And that would be used for further growth of the company and many of the points that we'll reference in the next slides. Then rolling into February, we're aiming to complete the integration of the new lab with heliosDX. Our new healthcare employment services are expected to be completely launched during the month. We'll report out all of our financials from 2021, and we expect to roll out the new healthcare technology to customers with a focus on the patients first. So there's going to be multiple phases to this technology that we're rolling out. Finally, we hope to receive the final round of funding from the Reg A for $6 million, and then this supports our next efforts for another acquisition down the road. In March, we've got some great plans, very exciting to kick off the next gene sequencing project. And in the meantime, we'll be working on setting up some of that equipment and putting in place the personnel to be able to launch that project. Moving on to Q2, April, we'll release the first quarter results, and then we intend to release information pertaining to the second acquisition. In May, we'll begin the phase 2 of the healthcare technology project, which will be focused on the clinics and the practices that are serving those inpatients. And we intend to have executed the purchase agreement for the second acquisition at this point. We'll expect to have all of the audited financials completed for RushNet, heliosDX, and Grandeza. Now, rolling into June, now this is a time frame actually, so it's June to August 2022. Need to be clear about that. We expect to announce the official split off of heliosDX, which is why we set that time period, because there's a lot of moving parts in there. The split off from RushNet will include the ex-dividend date, a split off dividend, and a conversion ratio for the shareholders that are interested in moving RSHN shares into the new heliosDX shares. Also, at that time, we'll anticipate continuing the application to the Toronto Stock Exchange. All right, so moving into Q3, July, we'll release the second quarter financials, and then we intend to hopefully close on that second acquisition for heliosDX. In August, this month, we'll expect to be concluding that split off from heliosDX, of heliosDX from RushNet, and we'll be in our final phase of the healthcare technology, which will revolve more around the administrative processes and billing side of the business. Now, moving into September, upon completing that split off, our current CEO, Ashley, will step down from RushNet and name a new CEO of RushNet. He will continue in his capacity as chairman of the board with the voting control, and he will remain the CEO of heliosDX, which we expect will be trading under a new ticker symbol. And with that, we would expect him to announce an uplisting to the NASDAQ. And then finally, looking at Q4 of next year, the race is on. We'll be executing the application process in order to uplist, and we hope by the end of the year, heliosDX will be publicly traded on the NASDAQ. So with that said, we're going to show another commercial. This is a 1.5-minute full-length marketing commercial, again, broadcasted on those media sites that we mentioned before. And then afterwards, we'll do a Q&A with everyone. So we can roll to the commercial now.
Every industry evolves and improves with new breakthroughs in science and technology. Now more than ever, reliable laboratory testing and fast, accurate results are vital. That's why from heliosDX, we want to continue providing excellence in laboratory testing. With our full range of services including high-complexity urine drug testing, allergy droplet cards, specialized behavioral toxicology testing, PCR, and NGS genetic testing. With some of the industry's finest and most experienced chemists, we've been providing our physicians individualized customer service, as well as fast and accurate reporting through cutting-edge technology. We're always ahead of the curve, continually investing in the most efficient machines and software. Our interactive sales and results portal makes ordering easier than ever. Access results and sales updates in real time in GoRiv, our physician-designed testing panel created to aid in patient care and compliance. Here at heliosDX, we're on a mission to provide a professional, honest, and affordable approach. We partnered with Cardinal Health, the industry-leading provider of healthcare freight management services, to provide a state-of-the-art shipping solution. This provides an easy way of getting us your samples. heliosDX is here to serve you. With over 6 years in business, our experience and customer satisfaction truly count. To learn more, visit heliosDX.com. Better laboratory services is our passion.
All right, we hope you enjoyed that, and now we can commence the Q&A session.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Okay, from Danielle Rodriguez, Ashley touched on a new platform, Health Wallet, that the company is working on during a Newsmax interview. Can you give us more insight on what the platform is, and is it a telehealth platform?
Sure. Yeah, great question. It's not a telehealth platform. It really is. It's a platform in a way of communicating results to patients, to clinicians in a much more secure manner, which we plan on making a more robust platform into the future, bringing in billing components, and really allowing that patient to have a wallet, not only for their healthcare results through the laboratory, but all of their healthcare results throughout any physician they may have.
And Sage Phelps wants to know a little bit about your acquisitions. Can you discuss what you will spend on each and how much of an impact on your cash flow will each have on average?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the first acquisition is we're expected to spend with the land and building acquisition, or with the laboratory. It's going to be about $6.5 million on the acquisition. It's going to add revenues anywhere from $8 to $10 million on an annual basis. From a cash flow perspective, just looking at the numbers, we're immediately, and I should say this particular laboratory we're buying is already it's profitable. So we're in a good place there, but we immediately think we can shave or add 10% right off the bat in terms of profit just by reducing some costs, and merging the two businesses into one. So it's really going to help our current cash flow position.
Great. Bruce wants to know if you have any plans to expand services in the next 12 months.
Yeah. So as Yann touched on, we've already bought the equipment. It's an ion torrent for next gene sequencing. And so during the first part of 2022, we will look to roll out NGS testing, which is next gene sequencing. So part of that process is really finding the right test that we want to bring into the marketplace. For us, the type of laboratory we look for high volume tests that are more widely ordered by physicians, not so much as niche testing. So, it's really finding that right test and going out to the marketplace and selling it. So we will be adding testing.
We have a question from Risha Magapu, Kevin Ball, and Yo Shaw. A few questions in one. So explain the spinoff structure in a bit more depth, and what will the share structure be, and how will that affect the current shareholders, and address why the share price is low?
Okay. So I think the first thing there is to correct that next summer it won't be a spinoff, it will be a split off, which are handled in different ways. So the split off of heliosDX, I can't really comment on what the share structure will be, because there's a lot of things that go into that in terms of what is the current price of RushNet. What I can tell you is when that split off does occur, it occurs at a dollar for dollar with an incentive to the Helia for the Helios shares. Meaning, if RushNet were you're going to get a dollar for dollar, and then you may get a 10% incentive. In terms of why RushNet share price is where it's at today, we're out there executing our plan. We've demonstrated over the last 6 or 7 months that we can execute. Our revenue just continues to grow month over month, quarter over quarter. There's a sentiment out there with the high share structure of RushNet being 8 billion shares. What we're going to do there, we're going to do a reverse split. How are we going to tackle this? We're doing a Reg A, of which we've gotten a commitment of the $20 million, which, in terms when you do a Reg A, people understand that we're issuing shares to the family office that's agreed to fund the Reg A. So I think that while there's a lot of good, there are some that may look at those as a short-term step back to get to the long-term gain, and I think that affects price. But ultimately, as long as a company we continue to execute our plan and we continue to drive our revenues and close our acquisitions, everything we do is in my mind is an anti-dilutive perspective. Meaning, if we add shares but we add revenue to the business, right? If we take our business from a $6 million entity to a $20 to $25 million entity, we have done that in an anti-dilutive perspective versus a dilutive perspective, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Ashley. Jill G wants to know, how much are you selling in your Reg A, and what price, and how long will that take before you have to raise capital again?
So that's a really good question. I will release the term sheet. So we have signed a term sheet with the family fund, which I won't release that as of yet until we get the formal agreement in place. And there's a couple corporate actions that we have to complete prior to I can really make that public. In terms of how many shares and what that looks like, a lot of that is dependent on the share price of RushNet. And so there's some of that stuff we can't disclose yet, but I would expect in the next 30 days or so that we'll be able to disclose some information and really let the shareholders know exactly what we've committed to. In terms of more funding down the road, I like this question a lot because we have a target of in 24 months to be at a $50 million revenue company or higher. My belief is, is the $20 million capital raise we're doing today, we will not need to do that again. That is all the money we're going to need in order to hit that $50 million revenue mark plus. It's important to note that we're not raising capital for ongoing operational needs. We are a profitable business. We have cash flow. We're not borrowing money. Even through all the advertising we've done over the last 6 or 7 months, it's cash out of pocket. So the $20 million goes straight to growing the business and not sustaining the business. And I think that's a very big difference about what we're doing that you may see from some other entities out there today.
Thank you for that answer. There's 2 questions from Steve DiVincenzo. 1, speaking of Helios, is there any similarity to Theranos? And 2, any plans to enter retail and provide services through a retailer?
Forgive me, I didn't hear the first part of the similarity to what company?
Theranos.
I'm not familiar with Theranos. I would say that if Theranos is a laboratory that's processing diagnostic testing, then there are similarities. Whether that's toxicology or blood or whatever it may be, if they're a diagnostic laboratory processing testing, we have similarities. If they're billing insurances, we have similarities. And the second question, retailers. So I've toyed with the idea of how we could get into the retail market, whether we white label some testing, and to say that's a priority would be I'd be mistaken. But to say that it's not on a whiteboard somewhere that we haven't thought about, sure we have. We've thought about a couple different things in terms of white labeling some retail tests that we could send out there, or even franchising out collection locations, which is a huge advantage like Quest and LabCorp have, is they have a lot of locations out there where they can collect testing. And for a company our size to go out and do that takes a massive amount of capital. So one of the things that's really high up on our whiteboard is potentially rolling out franchise collection locations where we could put a location somewhere and just have it as a collection entity.
Ryan J. and Chris Amacost asks, what will the fully diluted outstanding be after the funding is complete? And do you plan a reverse split?
I can. So the fully dilutive, obviously, we don't know. I can. I don't know that until we know share price. Here's what I can tell you about a reverse split, and what I can really tell you about the share structure overall. It's a big question we get often. Is we have 8 billion shares out there, and we're gonna have to address that at some point, and it's going to be addressed in a multitude of ways. And so one is obviously the split off and having that ability to convert. 2 is we are raising capital for the $20 million, and we will allocate a certain portion of that to do some type of company share buyback. What that looks like and to what amount, I don't know. But we will allocate a little bit there for that. And a reverse split is certainly something we have to look at. I mean, 8 billion shares is a lot of shares. And in order to, get Helios to accomplish its goals, to move up to NASDAQ is the target, but to move up to a different exchange, to really put, RushNet in the forefront of the OTC market, that 8 billion shares has to come down. So after Helios splits off, RushNet is going to become Grandeza Healthcare. We have some other things that are going to come underneath that. And so that share structure, in order for us to really make a dent and move up to another exchange with RushNet down the road, we're going to need to do some things.
Gabriel Castillo says, with such a high projections in income, it looks like a big company would come and offer a buyout. Would you entertain this thought? And if so, how would it benefit the current shareholders?
I mean, that is certainly, if you know anything about the diagnostic space, the laboratory space, that's typically what happens is you have a laboratory that is bought out by another lab. So to say that could happen or will happen down the road, it certainly could. I don't know, what the next 24 months, after the next 24 months, I don't know what's going to happen. I do know what's going to happen in the next 24 months, and we're going to stay focused on executing our plan, and we're going to drive our revenue to that $50 million mark and higher. And if someone wants to come and look to acquire heliosDX down the road, we'll face that at that time. I personally, if someone wanted to acquire a $50 to $100 million company in 36 months, I think that's a huge win for the shareholders. I think it's a huge win for management and the company.
Marley Valenzuela wants to know if you're currently being audited, and if so, who is auditing?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and one we tweeted about yesterday. So we did start the audit process over the summer, and we halted the process. We got pretty far down the process in terms of our count. It was, converting Grandeza and heliosDX from really public accounting to public and moving our financials to GAAP, which we did. That's now completed. But we hit some snags with RushNet. RushNet, as we talked about several times, is it's a 20-year-old company that's had some ups and downs and some dark periods that, frankly, we're trying to overcome. And it's something that we had to delay the audits till 2022 for the sake of RushNet, and really not because Helios can't be audited or Grandeza Healthcare can't be audited, but because we needed that time for RushNet. So as we touched on the 15-month plan, we'll resume audits on RushNet, heliosDX, and Grandeza in the first part of 2022. We expect those to go to plan. We expect no hiccups at that point in time. And frankly, we have to complete those audits in order to complete all the corporate actions we want to do. In order to split off heliosDX, RushNet has to be able to be audited. Helios has to be audited. Grandeza has to be audited. So the audits will happen, but we just had to delay them for now.
Well, thank you so much for this great presentation. Kira Morgan says, thank you for coming on and taking the tough questions. She believes in what you are doing, and so do we. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming on, and we look forward to you coming back and presenting again, because we have quite a few more questions for you, but we are out of time. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll be back, everyone, with our next presenter. Stay with us.